tonight. Should read sub number 3 says, is Umar on that stuff? This comes with a tweet from Antoine Daniels. He's problematic too, but anyway. He says, Umar asks as follows for money after saying he's broke without money because of fraud. Let's watch the video. It's about a 3-minute video. Let's watch it.
I believe Medea and Pastor Bussy were fraudulently trying to get into my account. And if we find out that's the case, they will be sued and possibly arrested because fraudulent activity on a bank account is a federal offense. Fraudulent activity on a bank account is federal offense. Fraudulent activity on a bank account is a federal offense. Again, June 25th to July 10th is the period of suspicious activity. That is from the time Medea went public and I left for South Africa. Between the time Medea went public and I went for South Africa. So brothers and sisters, if you want to make a donation to FDMG, you must send it to PayPal. Hold off on the checks and money orders until the situation is resolved. Hold off on all FDMG Academy money order and check donations until the situation is resolved. If you want to make a donation to FDMG, send it through PayPal. Right? PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. If you want to make a donation to the school, hold off on checks and money orders until we find out what the hell is going on. The bank is investigating the fraudulent attempts on our account. If I find out Medea and Pastor Bussy had anything to do with this, I was told that they can be arrested for federal offense. I was told they can be arrested for federal offense. I was told they could be for federal offense. Now, with that being said, brothers and sisters, Dr. Umar has access to no money right now because my personal account contains all of my money. I only send it to Apple Pay and PayPal as necessary. So the Prince of Pan-Africanism, for the first time in my life, is without any digital currency. So for my loyal supporters out there, if you can spare a few dollars so I can take care of Queen Mother Ifa Tunde and myself until my bank account is frozen or canceled so I can get my money back and open up a new account, please hit my Apple Pay or hit my PayPal.
This is diabolical. Honest to God. This is it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate we have gotten to the point to where we are panhandling on the internet and asking people to hit the Apple Pay or whatever it is that he's saying hit up because he's saying that his accounts are frozen.
Yeah. Let me see if there was any comments under this video. Someone repeats fraudulent activity in a bank account is a federal offense 3 times. Like Umar likes to repeat things in 3s. Someone says, I'm just here to tell you that school is never coming, etc. So I'll leave it there. But Umar is saying that he's broke. I'll start with Black Steel on this one while the chat builds up some commentary. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at Dr. Umar. We have to be honest, man. Dr. Umar has been scamming Black people for a long time. He really has. He's been trying to build this school since 2010, 2011. And the problem, let me just keep it a buck, right? True leadership comes from the people, right? I was always suspicious of Umar when he started calling himself the Prince of Pan-African King Kong consciousness, right? It always struck me as odd because no one should be calling themselves the leader of anything, right? That's not a title you bestow upon yourself. That's something that's given to you from the people, right? So it was this need for him to be seen as the leader. He was going to do everything by himself. He was going to open a school by himself. One thing I noticed with all of our great revolutionaries, our great leaders, they always work within the confines of an organization, right? Marcus Garvey had the UNIA. Dr. King had the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Malcolm X was with Nation of Islam. But they always had an organization that everything wasn't on them, right? But Umar made it a point to where he was the sole person in charge of this, and he was going to lead the way. I seen one time he was on Instagram, and he had a picture of himself as Moses holding the 10 Commandments, right? Like he was going to lead the black people to the promised land. Him alone. So it just struck me as, okay, something's wrong with this dude because his need to be in front of the camera, his self-aggrandizing, his me, I'm the one who's going to lead the people. And then over the years, he's collecting donations, but ain't no motherfucking school being built. Where's the school, cuzzo? Where's the school? So it really felt like, excuse me, it really felt as though he's not a serious person, right? So when he between him repeating himself all the time, and then he was out here spreading false information. He won the Breakfast Club, and he said so many things that were just completely wrong that it was an embarrassment. He said that in South Africa, Chinese is a national language, but Zulu isn't. Xhosa isn't, which is obviously not true. He said Buddha was black, and the Buddha means the black one, which is completely false. But here he was purporting himself to be some sort of black savior. And as time has gone on, we start to see there is no school. The emperor has no clothes, right? There's no. It's what bothers me, not just about the fact that Umar's grifting, but the fact that he has been empowered to do so in our community for so long, right? We have to do a better job as a people of dealing with those who take advantage of us. When Umar started out, he wrote, I read his book. It was a good book too. When he started talking about how black children are treated in public schools, he was absolutely 110% right. It was an excellent book. If he had built on that foundation, he would be, he would be that we wouldn't be talking about like this. But this constant need to, I'm doing this, I need money, and there's nothing to show for it. He showed us an old building in Delaware that had a sign on it, but to this day there's no students. He doesn't have a student, there's no student body, no teachers, there's no faculties. You want to run a whole residential academy on just donations? That's not possible. That's not possible. So I really feel like, Umar is a cautionary tale. We got to be careful about who we deal with, who we interact with, and who we give our money to. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Quickly in the chat, War Drum says Umar has been the worst thing that could happen to Pan-Africanism. Our sister Marcus Garvey is the way, says good night to you as well. War Drum says Umar stepped in front of elders. Tragavi 262 Plus says Umar's issue is probably more along the lines of individualism and ego, but then again, he says he has a team around him. Apparently, Cheryl Easy says Umar has a lot going on. Wardrum says that Baba James Small should be paramount chief. I'm not sure about James Small, bro. I want to be honest with you. I'll talk more about it in a second. I really like this comment here. Afro Native World says Umar is more of a comedian, and you know what? I don't mind that. Afro Native World. I could talk about it more later. I don't mind that, to be honest with you. I don't mind that being conscious comedy that's centered around Pan-African, like Pan-Africanism. Once it's not clowning Africans and all that old stuff, but I don't mind that. But to present yourself like Black Steel would have said, that you're someone to be followed and all this type of stuff is just like, come on, man. It's time we put this guy away, to be honest. Shout out to Anthony McPhail. He said James Small is double-minded. Yeah, that's exactly why I don't know about him in particular. But shout out to Anthony McPhail. I hope all is well with you. With that said, man, let me hear from Buana next. Buana, what say you?
Yeah, sir. So, Coco, I personally believe that Dr. Johnson has mental health issues. And the reason why I say this is, the basis of me saying this is because of his daughter. Sometimes mental health issues are hereditary. I think that Malcolm X is the best example of that in terms of what happened to his mother. And many people question the mental stability sometimes of even Malcolm X. But I know generationally his daughters had some mental health issues. I think that Dr. Johnson has mental health issues. And what I would say to the sisters, because Dr. Johnson is the best example of dating advice, I would say. Because I would tell the sisters who are interested in dating men, Black men are great talkers. They used to say about Bahamian men have sugar on their tongue. We could sell you a story, or we could sell you a beautiful storyline, a picture that would make you want to just do anything. But what I have learned is, sisters, don't follow what men say sometimes. Primarily look at what men do. Primarily. Because we sing the sweetest songs in terms of selling storylines, but watch what the man do, especially when no one is supposed to be looking, because the devil is always in the details. And the details, I don't like to judge human beings or judge men or whatever, because God forbid somebody judge me. But just look at the details of what this man is currently doing. Instead of finding work, legitimate work, he wants to go to be a panhandler on the internet. Go wash some cars. What are you talking about? Go work I remember I was in college, I used to work till they pay today. I don't know if people even know what that is. Go find a little job, bro. Go do something where you could learn, could get a wage at the end of the day, instead of asking the people are confused whether they consider you to be a serious person or a person who just panhandling for dollars. They're confused. They would respect you more if you pack in groceries instead of begging them for $1 and $2 and $3 a contribution at the end of the day. If you was a serious person and you ain't trying to con them. Because now it seems that the government or these corporate places trying to stifle you from doing what you need to do now, because they looking at you side eye. It's been more than 10 years. Nothing is happening. And you have these little projects where you're showing the people, I paint this, and not everyone is fooled by that. So they watch the details of what you are doing. And I think the sisters sometimes, when they dating, gauge men by that particular point of view as well. Men wouldn't necessarily with a mind say, watch what he doing. Watch the details of what he does. And then gauge him based off of that. He'll tell you who he is by what he does, not necessarily what he's saying to you every day. And unfortunately, like I said, I believe this particular brother has mental health issues. Unfortunately, that's a sad scenario. But to resort to these kinds of things under the name of Gavi Lord have mercy. Could you imagine Gavi going to his supporters and saying, "Well, listen, they freeze my bank account. I need to have some money." No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Figure it out. Figure it out. But this is not the way. This is Pan-African panhandling, and you bring disrepute to what your messaging is. I would rather you pack groceries than resort to what you're doing right now. I would rather you do that. I would respect you more. But I don't know. I would just leave it there, and that would be my advice to the sisters in terms of dating. What should the men do, not necessarily what they're talking about. And this is a prime example of that. And we've been through the Polites, we've been through the Malachis, the Yorks, we've been through the Yahweh ben Yahwehs of the world, and this guy is just carrying on tradition, I guess. He is carrying on tradition. But we don't want that kind of tradition in our community. The grifting must stop. It must stop. It must stop. And to replace that, the serious people have to come into the room. And we can't only engage ourselves with this idea of entertainment, because Dr. Umar Johnson is extremely entertaining. He's extremely entertaining, but that don't build nations. Entertainment don't build nations. But needless to say, the most boring person in the world is Elon Musk. If you ever had Elon Musk talk, he is the most boring person in the world to listen to. But he getting the details right. He ain't trying to be entertaining. And let me stop around there. I'll leave it there, Coco. I'll leave it, Coco.
Good stuff, Juan. I appreciate that. Quickly, let me hit the chat. Musings and Bloom. I don't think I've ever seen you here before, but forgive me if you have been. They say Umar is no better than the various grifters and plants on YouTube, posturing as leftists, etc. What I'd like to know is how much did Umar raise? Umar is a clown, but we've got worse wolves amongst us. I agree we have worse wolves, but Umar is a bad look for Pan-Africanism, as someone else in the chat had said. Umar raised about $750,000. Tariq is a bigger and I guess quote unquote a better grifter, but Umar, he raised that money was over 10 years now. My kids were small when Umar talked about building that school. And there is a building like someone, I think Trigger Happy mentioned. Yeah, Trigger Happy mentions it here. I see a school physically, but the timeline of it just seems to be the issue. I'm also wondering how the curriculum would look like. Umar has kind of overdone this thing now. War Drum says Umar speaks about himself in third person. Trying to go through musings, and Bloom says, for all we know, he could have. What does ONS mean again? He could have ONS raised 10K. I'm no fan of Umar, but let's be measured with our critique. Umar is an entertaining, plain and simple. He appeals to a certain segment amongst us. But that's why, musings and Bloom, this is why we got to be strict. This is why we have to tighten up our communities. We got to be strict. There's no time to be playing with Pan-Africanism in your mouth all the time, and you out here, damn near being a shyster, if not being one, right? War Drum is who said it. Umar has single-handedly stained Pan-Africanism. There's a lot of talk about the one-drop rule and the colorism stuff still going on in the chat. So I got to try find my way through it. Marcus Garvey is the way he says, I give him the benefit of the doubt. Propaganda is the greatest tool used against us. She says, have I ever supported? Yes, years ago. Andy McPhail, like I said earlier, he said James Small is double-minded. Marcus Garvey is the way he says, we still bank at Bank of America, known slave owners. Okay. Yeah, so, by the way, got a super chat. Appreciate you, KW Don 7. KW Don 7 says, Umar blocked me on Instagram for mentioning that it has been 6 years since taking possession of those buildings and no certificate of occupancy. Good stuff. Lot of comments, and I appreciate when we have a lot of comments in the chat. That helps us have better conversations up here on the panel, I do believe. With that said, let me hear from my brother Kofi. Kofi, what say you?
As a famous Bahamian actress said, damn, damn, damn. That's the ropes. I always had high hopes for Dr. Umar. It's like a bad train accident that had good people on it, and it's like, oh God, no. And I look away, hoping it will get better, but it always resurfaces itself as something not good. And I'm not gonna repeat what everyone pretty much said, but it's pretty much, yeah, he's a very bad look for Pan-Africanism. So all the anti-black people that Brother Bakari was talking about, and that we talk about, that I'm not African, I'm not this, I'm not that. So they all should put you in the Pan-African box, which is just fine. But they keep thinking they have a cultive like mindset. So if Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell is my leader and hero, that means by default, Umar is yours. Like Koku said, he keeps saying that, keeps having Pan-African in his mouth. So it's like automatically people associate people with him, but all people aren't a monolith. There's nothing really else to say, but this is just a sad. This is just sad. It's like the I don't know. It's kind of like it's like people that have the most influence have the worst intentions. And I get he started off good, he started off great. Everyone met Umar Johnson. I met Umar Johnson. Same thing when he wanted to start the school. My wife was a teacher, and he said, "Hey, can I teach at her see if she has any positions in her school or whatever? Because for me to be a principal and to have this school, I need certain certifications and da 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 da, and I need this many work hours, yada yada yada. Let me know, let me know, let me know." So, so he seemed very genuine. But like Juana says, the Yahweh ben Yahwehs, the polites, the this and the that, they fall by the wayside. But look, this is what I get out of this. You're not gonna agree with everybody. Like you talk about the Nuwapians, the Nuwapians brought me into consciousness, right? But I have to, take the meat and spit the bones out. That's what I have to do. And I think with people like Umar, we have to take the meat and spit the bones out. So, when he's speaking truth and that you could obviously verify, then, you take that and you use that. You don't have to take everything he's saying face value, especially this. It's like, this is the first time I'm going to say this, but I think Umar is grifting. I never said those words ever, but I think it's just there's no receipts. Where is the receipts for everything for the all the trouble and the issues that you're having to build this school? If he was giving people a play-by-play, hey family, here's my documents, here's this stat, blah blah blah, I'm short of my goal, or you know what, this happened. Like he's just saying it. Okay, show us something from your bank saying that you reported fraud. Just show us something. He can't. It's just rhetoric, and that's what a grifter does. He's doing the whole preacher thing, saying things 3 times. It's like a subliminal psyop that he's doing to embed it in your mind. Like, oh, he needs this, he needs that, he needs this. Oh my gosh, he's been being victimized, and it's just a bad look. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, to be clear, and I really do appreciate what you said there, Kofi, because to be clear, Black Steel said, when Umar came out with his book and stuff years ago, I was a big fan of Umar because I thought he was the kind of voice we needed. That guy, that person who has an analysis of history and can articulate it. Not only that, but can connect it to what's going on. And I think there's still something with Umar on that level that's still a good thing. The problem with Umar is, and I see folks trying to give him a pass for it, but the problem is you've launched this school at least maybe 12, if not 15 years ago. You launched the fundraising for it, and back then you had $700 and something thousand, which you at that time back then you said the accounts were frozen and you couldn't access it. And then somehow, somewhere after that, you did have access to it. And yes, we see a building But if you guys aren't tuned into him, he's not a part of this network, but he shows up here sometimes. Naps TV. Naps TV just recently did a video. And by the way, Wardrum, you could tune into Naps TV on Apocalypse TV on YouTube, because it'll tackle two things that we're talking about. You're talking about Umar being broke and the school situation. And Naps went to the school a couple of years back, I think around the time of the pandemic or something like that. And nothing has been done since that time, right? These are the problems. The other thing that Naps has on there, he has the receipts for Dr. James Small flip-flopping. One day, James Small is heavy on the FBA stuff. And then he goes on, what's up, brother's name again? He doesn't live stream much anymore. What's that young brother? It's a Haitian brother. What's his name again? Nation State of Mind.
Okay.
No, Nation State of Mind. I can't think of what his proper name is, but Nation State of Mind. James Small goes up on there and condemns Tariq and the whole FBA thing. And then, like, it must be a couple of days later, Tariq has James Small on his platform where James Small basically backtracks everything he said on Nation State of Mind. So that's my issue with James Small. Omawale Africa. Yeah, Omawale Africa. Thanks. I knew someone was going to remember. Omawale Africa.
Yeah,
So
Omawale, he's American. Omawale is American.
I thought he was of Haitian descent, but okay.
Nah, Omawale is American.
Okay. Yeah, Afro-Native will just say he's not Haitian. I thought I could have swore. Okay, my bad. At least the misinformation didn't get out there. Go ahead, Barna.
See, Koku, the thing is, right? See, Umar is extremely charismatic, okay? And he's a very likable person. But the reality is that don't let your emotions and the fact that he's entertaining cause you to suspend your ability to reason and logic. I have seen these people before, and my mother and them was big advocates of the televangelists back in the day, Kenneth Copeland and all these other people, you know. And because they was charismatic, they was able to extort. Now you use the word extort. Now use the word very carefully. Extort the monies from people who are gullible, because they used to sell my mother them a dream. All the TD Jakes them, Creflo Dollar. I mean, the scam is in the name. His name is Dollar. His name is actually Dollar. But I'm saying that don't allow your charisma and the fact that you like him, his likability, to cause you to suspend your ability to reason. It has been more than 12 years. And it's been 12 years of promises after promises after promises and low delivery. And the reality is people have built schools out of from their apartment buildings and naturally grew these things from one level to another level to another level. If this man had a sincere interest in educating young black boys, he could educate them under a baobab tree. That's like how they do it in the Caribbean or other places in Africa. You don't always have to start with this mega something something. If your sincere interest is in informing and educating children, why does it have to be this grandiose thing? You could start off small and expand from there. I mean, I don't understand that, but you have to suspend logic and reason to get to where he is. And I would implore the sisters and brothers who still support him emotionally, on an emotional level, to use your reason and what he is actually doing. It's been 12 years. Imagine, if you will, because I saw something from Marcus Garvey is the way. Marcus Garvey is the way said, at least he tried. But imagine if you was to have a suitor or a husband or someone who said that he wanted to be with you. You had children with the man. The babies need to eat. And he is going out every day. And you're not going to say, well, at least he tried to find work for, support my... The babies need to be fed. They need real substance. And after 12 years, you can't say he's still trying. No. Get it together. And we are at the point now where we Pan-African panhandling for dollars. Oh, because the new excuse is, or they freeze my funds. Nigga, and I'm gonna use this word intentionally. Nigga, go get a job. Go find some, go flip some burgers. Go flip some burgers. Go wash a car.
But
Cause
Wanda,
you know,
he's a doctor. It's to be easy for him to get a job. That's the thing. That's a very good point you're making. He's a doctor. He's a
I
clinical
don't even, I don't,
psychologist.
Kofi. I didn't even watch that whole certificate business. You know, on a man level, but I go find some work. I don't give a shit what the certificate and the paperwork say. If you want to feed your family, you can feed your family regardless of the certification. The someone acknowledge you and say, "Oh, you can come into our business now, where you can pay me $100,000 to $200,000 a year." That's all well and good, but my babies need to eat right now. So let me get it out of the mud if I got to. If you're serious. So even if I have to wash the car, I could be a PhD doctor washing the goddamn car. Many immigrants come from many various places who are professional people, find themselves driving Uber. Uber, doctors, lawyers in their respective countries, but they need to support and provide for their families. So certain things have to take a back seat. And they ain't panhandling. So what make you better than them? What make you better than them? Go drive an Uber. What are you talking about? But like I said, maybe it's me being an immigrant coconut from the Caribbean, and I look
No,
at things
no, no,
differently.
no, you're right. Because that's my parents' work ethic too. My parents were police. My mother came here cleaning for white people. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
okay,
Sometimes you
okay,
gotta take 5 steps forward to get 20 steps ahead.
okay. Because for me, this seemed like panhandling. I don't like that. I don't like it at all, Kofi. I don't like it at all. But I'll leave it. I'll leave it, Koku. I'll leave it.
Yeah. Was Kofi finish his part?
No, I was just agreeing with one because he's absolutely right. He was building on a point. I'm saying if you're a doctor, at least have some integrity and get a job. You know what I'm saying? I get that. And us as immigrants and seeing what my parents had to go through and all the little stages they had to go through to get to where they are right now. Yeah, it's a matter of integrity. I'm not going to sit here and beg. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's an immigrant mindset. I don't know. My mother and father knew, like, look, I could do better than this. But you know what? For now, this is what I'm going to do. I have 2 children I have to feed. I have a rent that I have to pay. And they did what they can so they could do better. And that's what Umar needs to do as well. I agree with one.
Appreciate that, Kofi. Now the sister here has been waiting for a little minute to speak, but let's give her a warm welcome to Sister Ama or Shirley Easy from the chat. Ama, how are you doing this week?
Yeah, can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm doing well. How's everyone? Um,
Good. Thanks for coming
starting
through.
to,
Thanks for coming through. Good to hear you.
yeah, so y'all know that I grew up in Philly. Like I've been there my whole life. My family has been there their whole lives. You know, just I even it's funny. So I was listening to Umar before he started doing the whole school thing, and at this point is pretty. I agree with Kofi. Like it pretty much is a crash out. But I just want people to take a step back into let's go 15 years ago, right? Because before he even proposed doing the school thing, Umar was saying a lot of things that black people generally do not like. They don't agree with. People were not supporting him like that. And this was maybe like we're talking like 2013, 2012. Like people wasn't really rocking with him like that because he was saying stuff like, oh, black women should be wearing their natural hair. Black people should only be procreating with each other, right? All of these things. Even today, you see people don't really rock with that, especially people that are in their sick, like, from civil rights era, African Americans, immigrants from that time period that just come into the country. They ain't trying to hear that. Let's be honest. But my thing with Umar is his inconsistency, right? Even before he got to the school, he was saying things like, um, yes, black people should be dating each other, but if you're biracial, then you're black. And people wouldn't be like arguing with him. They would just ask him, well, if they have a black if they have a white parent, then how are they only black? And he would just say, well, blackness is a feeling. Now here comes the inconsistency, right? Because like, how can you can't, black isn't a feeling. No other race of people or group of people talk about, oh, Indian is a feeling, Chinese is a feeling. It doesn't matter how you look. La 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 da 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 da. It matters a whole. I understand where he's trying to go, but to there, we know what Africans look like. We're not gonna even play this game. All right. What he should have said, and what I would have respected more, is if he said there should be a vetting process for people who have a white parent. Because when you have a white parent, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or anything like that. It just means that they have divided allegiances, right? And so you need to tackle that a certain way. There needs to be a vetting process for them. Or otherwise, you just get what you get in the Dominican Republic, right? Where everybody know, well, if you don't know that history, I'm not going to sit here and explain it. Just go look it up on how the mulattoes were used against the African population. But it's Umar's inconsistency that got it for me. And fast forward to today, there's a lot of inconsistencies. I went out when we lived in Houston. We saw him at a conference, and there was a black guy sitting there with a snow bunny, and he didn't say anything. Normally he would say something, and I'm just like, ugh, certain things kind of turn me a little bit. And so I'm just like, for him to be that inconsistent. And then a friend of mine, really quick, she just brought up, well, I think he has a light skinned attraction. Like, he's only attracted to light skinned women. And you would see him going on YouTube talking about, oh, well, I'm taking applications for uh um uh for queens, whatever, to be my wife. And he wanted like multiple wives, which I'm not opposed to. That's not the problem. The problem is, I need a dark skinned one, and I need a light skinned one. I need a dark, like, even if that's playing for his audience, that's very confusing. And so for me, and I also think Umar gets caught up in social media too much. He gets caught up in people's comments. I'm sure he goes back and he reads the comments. It stress him out. He does all this crazy stuff. Um, like, he, at this point, it's definitely, I agree with Kofi. It's a crash out. He could just be trying to get money. Is he on the level of TD Jakes? Probably not. Probably not. He's not. People don't rock with him like that. Ain't nobody giving him that much money. Um, so I think, and I'm just going to close with this. I think he's taking the road that Cynthia G took. And remember, I don't know if you guys listen to Cynthia G. The stuff she's putting on social media right now is ridiculous. It's crazy. It's anti-black male propaganda. But remember how she's being paid by YouTube. She's making, she's making six figures, right? Talking the things that
I
she.
know I'm cutting you off. Can you please tell us what's the crazy thing she said? Because my son doesn't hardly knows anything about her, and she said something that was insane. So can you please tell
Yeah.
us? I want to know if it's what it tops
Yes.
what I know.
Yes. She pretty much all the white talking points that white people have about black men, black men being not being providers. White men provide better. Black men are the scum of the earth. I've heard her say all like, man, it's such a list. It's such a laundry list of just awful things she used to say. But the reason I get to her and how I'm going to connect it back to Umar is the fact that when she first got on YouTube, she had an excellent analysis of black relationships, and she tackled the biracial issue so well. And how, the statistics on, black men marrying white women and black women marrying um white men, and why it's a problem. And the problem with just white people in general. She was, if you go way, way, way back, she has such a good analysis. And I'm not sure, something happened. Somebody, probably some white Jewish, I'm sorry, can't say that word right. Some YT people probably threw some money at her, and to say, hey, go and talk this crap about your own people. And she probably found herself in a vulnerable position, and she said, well, shit, I'm sorry for cursing, but okay, why not? I'm going to make all this money. And I think something similar might be happening to
Cheryl,
Umar.
Cheryl, really
Sorry,
quick.
but go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
so with
Sorry.
Cynthia G, she her baby daddy was no good, so he
Was
kind of
that it?
dogged her out.
Oh,
Yeah, she
that's
got
what it
with a
is?
brother, yeah, who dogged her out, and all of a sudden she went from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader. She fully embraced the dark side. So
I but you know what? That's a good point because I didn't know all of that, but that's a good point because Umar is having it's not the same situation that Cynthia G had, but he's having a similar issue relationship wise with his baby mamas. So to me, it feels like it starts there, and then the crash out comes thereafter, and then after that, here comes the money from YouTube, right? That's how it seems to follow a pattern, if you get what I'm saying. So i
absolutely,
think i think he's kind of getting there, and it's sad to see the crash out. It really is sad to see the crash out. To be honest with the school thing, I've never given money to the school, but not because I didn't believe in him. I just thought he was inconsistent. So I'm not surprised by this. I don't think the school was ever going to make it because he was talking about um having teachers, female teachers, one of the requirements was that you could not wear your natural hair. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's excellent. And he listed the reasons why for our children to see our teachers with natural hair and all of this stuff and why it's important. But I didn't think the school was gonna make it. Maybe if he took that money and all of the people who gave the money agreed to set something up in the motherland, but I don't think our people are thinking like that. But if he would have did something like that, and everybody agreed, it would have worked. But it's honestly, it's just never going to work in the United States with those type of criteria. So, it's a crash out. It's sad to see. It's really painful, but it is what it is.
I want to mention the horrible thing that I heard. So that you said that my son said, he said black women need to find out if they're having a girl or an abortion.
That's awful. That's
yeah,
awful. That is
Yeah,
awful.
she went
He's
viral
she's
for that.
off the wall. She is
it's
off
That's
a
the
what got her
wall,
suspended
man.
off YouTube because, and here's the thing,
She's
what
making a
got her
lot of money.
she was making, she had her channel got taken down initially because
Yep.
a white woman reported her. A
Yep.
white chick
Yep.
heard that, reported her, and got her channel taken down. Now you say
Yep.
if she's back, I don't see how she can come back after, I don't know how she came back from that, but Dr. Umar too, he's been very disrespectful towards his children's mother.
Yep.
So the
Yep.
baby, so the
Same
baby mom
pattern.
was giving him issues. He was actually sending his followers to harass this woman.
What I do? What's
So
wrong?
to me, it's like, how you gonna sit up here and talk about you want to work with black children, but brother, you can't even get right with your kids' mothers. Like that is not something that should be open for public consumption. That should be something you should handle privately. And I don't remember when the daughter got on here to ask about her sister and how he responded to her. It's been a clusterfuck, and you got to do better, man.
Yeah, I think she came back because she got some type of deal. I feel like I remember someone doing a post about how much she was getting paid to, kind of up the ante, like talk even like get talk even worse about black men and black children. Like she got a certain amount of money and she agreed to some terms before she was able to get back on YouTube. She definitely did. But I think I see the pattern with Umar, and I think he's headed in that direction, unfortunately.
in the chat. KW7 said that Cynthia G does live streams from an unlisted, demonetized channel once a week, and I think someone earlier said she makes some money through Patreon nowadays. Let's welcome in the brother MG2, who's in the chat, person kid. MG2, how are you this week?
Always good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate listening to you guys, and thank you for the heads up on these other channels as well. Um, Peace to everyone in the chat, of course. Black family, definitely.
Yes.
I've been now. I'm probably a lot, much older than most of you guys, and I remember during internet or quote unquote pre-social media's nascent versions, for lack of a better term. In its nascent version, it was more, you had like what was called Live 365, you had Rainbow Soul, you had a lot of the things, because remember, streaming wasn't it was in its infancy. And so what had happened at the time is black folks came out of the 1990s pro-nationalists. We had Dr. Amos Wilson, we had everyone from Jan Carew, we had Dr. Tony Martin, and we went from that into this form of individualistically trying to be scholars without a scholar's credentials or the scholar's record. Here's what I mean. When it came from the 1990s, I should even say from the 80s to the 90s, because we're going from Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. John Henrik Clark, and a lot of our scholars. Once we got into the form of what they call internet, for lack of a better term, and things started streaming, you had Live 365, you had different streaming networks. What had happened is folks became their own scholars in their own minds. You had like the House of Consciousness, you had all these different pop-ups, Black, what was it called? Black City or Black Network, Black Planet. And what had happened then is individuals were spouting a lot of things that they, regurgitating things of the real scholars, but putting their own spin on it and claiming that they were the ones who initiated it. We saw that especially out of New York. We saw that out of Cincinnati, Philly, LA, Vegas. A lot of individuals decided, hey, I can go ahead and get the aspect of celebrity. Now, here's what I mean. One of the things that really plagues a lot of our folk, and this is where it comes in with Dr. Umar, who was born, theoretically born on the same day I was, Nat Turner's revolution. The thing is what had happened is we have this, our industry, for lack of a better term, is we want the industry of celebrity. Whereas other races, other non-African people, they want the industry of productivity. And when I say productivity, I'm talking everything from militarism, I'm talking technology, I'm talking finance, international trade, agriculture and health. We're talking energy, we're talking technology. Their claim to fame is, hey, I want to excel in that industry or in that particular, that's their niche. Our niche as Black folks has been celebrity. And other folks have capitalized on that celebrity. And the thing is, that's clearly, we run our lives for, unfortunately, our compass is what this celebrity or what this influencer or whatever somebody else is doing. And this is not new. This is something that stems back, generations upon generations. We're talking back in the 20s. And so we've carved out that niche. Unfortunately, it's not as productive as the things that other that non-Africans do that we're subjected to and we depend on, like food, water, technology, security, things like that. So what had happened is, and I'm gonna bring this down to Umar and the previous sister that talked. I loved her voice. Thank you so much, sister, for what you're saying, because it also encompasses the Cynthia G, the Paris Milans, and the whole niche. The Nylas, the BGSs, the Willie Pete's, all of that. Here's what I mean. What had happened is others capitalized. They said, well, hey, if these folks are, if this is their niche, we're going to monetize it and we'll make more money having them, for lack of a better term, having them butt heads and destroy each other while we get paid. And go back to the hip hop days. Go back to the Tupacs and Biggies. Others got paid and we end up in graves or in jail. So, and it's because of our quest for celebrity recognition. Or in other words, we either want to be a celebrity, extol a celebrity, excoriate a celebrity, or want the attention of a celebrity. And that's literally why they put this social engineering thing called social media out there, to go ahead and make sure that we will never compete and never will be in control of our own destiny. So let's bring this up to modern day. I saw it start from the 90s to the 2000s, or actually from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, when all of a sudden you started having the very early nascent versions of social media. Now remember, when it first started out, a lot of Black folks were throwing up their fists going, Black this, Black that, Black power, this and that and the other. Then it went from there. You started seeing things kind of gravitate to where we were competing against each other. That's in the early stages of Blog Talk Radio, where it wasn't about Black. It was about, I'm more Black than you, or I'm more important, or whatever. Then that morphed, unfortunately, into gender. And then when it went to gender, it went to, after that, it went to xenophobic, this ADOS FBA nonsense. So the thing is this quest for celebrity is, how can we destroy each other in order to go ahead and get more views? I call it view whoring, because that's all we do. You know, not all us here, but that's what black folks want, is whether it's Instagram, whether it's whatever, it's they'll go ahead and get on their knees and do whatever it is unsavory to get a view. And I don't want to get crude on this channel. So the thing is you know, we see the progression of this. Now, when it comes to Umar Johnson, I remember when he first started. Remember, I'm a much older than he and you guys, so I saw the progression of this view whoring, and it wasn't just him. It was what fostered that. Like, I brought back the old days of House of Consciousness, stuff like that. This is what fostered. That's where you got your natural Tahooties and your Polites and your Setis and your Umars and, you know, things like that. And what had happened is, because of this quest of celebrity, the individuals that said, we're going to give you social media, we're going to socially engineer these folks to their own destruction while we get paid. So what do? They say, okay, let's go ahead and pay them. Let's give them a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there, and then all of a sudden we'll give them more views and we'll give them more attention. Thus, other folks will want to be them or be around them. I.e., the unfortunate aspect of the Tariq Nasheeds and whatnot, who produce nothing and do nothing in life other than cause confusion and disruption. And the thing is we saw that when I brought it back to, I said it started out with black this, black that. Then it went to gender wars. Again, your Willie Pete's, your I mean, it was a whole kit and caboodle of those, Tommy Sotomayor, stuff like that. Now you have the unfortunate Cynthia G aspect, and I know this brother personally. The Cynthia G on the male version is called BGS Edmore, you know? And so the thing is, these are destructive forces that actually make us not only uncompetitive, but we're self-destructive, and we're doing the work of other races to destroy ourselves, so they can have a hands-off approach and say, no, why we're going ahead and creating technologies, why we're going ahead and securing ourselves, why we're going ahead and doing the things we need to do to compete, we'll just let them go ahead and destroy themselves, and we'll go ahead and pay for the privilege. We'll just give them little, you know, a couple of advertising dollars. So now you've got Umar in the situation he is. Now, I've always said, hey, that brother's got one mission. Either he wants to get into someone's pockets or some woman's pants. I mean, a preacher's no different. But the unfortunate aspect is we have never learned from what Dr. John Henrik Clarke and a lot of the scholars said back in the day. We're always looking for leadership, or, you know, oh, I like this brother, I rock with this brother. I'm like, hey, I like what someone says, but if I don't see, and I'm gonna use the real word, tangible, and not what these FBA idiots use. I'm talking something you can smell, touch, taste, see, hear. You could drop it on your foot and say, ouch, a product, good, or service. If I don't see that, then that individual could not even lead himself to the toilet, ergo Umar. So the thing is, unfortunately, when I'm seeing this stuff, Dr. John Henrik Clarke said back in the day, leadership is, and he was saying, and I'm gonna kind of remix his words, it's not about celebrity. It's about one closest to the enemy in pursuit, and not just the physical enemy, but it could be economic. You know, hey, the one who's pursuing something in order to make the economic environment better for his people, that's a leader. Someone who wants to make sure your security is good, that's a leader. Someone who feeds you, that's a leader. Well, unfortunately, we've gravitated toward leadership, i.e., in the form of celebrity, i.e., Umar Johnson, Cynthia G, and the Polites and everything else. The thing is, now we're at a paradoxical crossroads, because what they did is they said, well, now we're going to go ahead and sprout this virus called social engineering, and everybody could be their own leader in their own mind and their own right. All they got to do is get a bunch of Instagram views, and now they're an influencer. Well, you've got peddlers that peddle drugs that are influencers. Okay, influencers should influence things of productivity and competition. Well, individuals who make sure that we are in this position because of our own minds and our quest to not go ahead and compete, well, hey, you know, you see the result. So this Umar situation is no different. We saw it with the kit and caboodle. I've seen this through the 70s all the way through here. The thing is, because of this paradoxical crossroads, is to make sure that you shift the wheat from the chaff. And I'm talking in your own, where your energy goes, where your time goes, where your productivity goes. If it goes toward this, the unfortunate status quo of celebrity, then clearly this conversation and conversations like that will be in another 20 years, like the ones that I heard 20 and 30 years ago. If you go in this crossroads and say, hey, from now on, I'm going to produce products, goods, and services, and I can care less about the Umars and anything else in this life. If you're not in that, then you're going to have some problems. So it's up to you, young folk, to which direction or which fork in the road you want to go ahead and approach. But anyways, thank you so much for this. I just wanted to kind of put this out there for you guys, because we're really at a tipping point for our people globally into what we're going to determine as our fate coming into the future. So peace to you guys, and Hotep.
Yeah, man. Peace to you too, MG2. And chat, Musings and Bloom commented that this speaker talking about UMG2 is brilliant, impeccable analysis. So we always appreciate when you come through. It's always a joy when you come through. Does anyone want to add any last thoughts to this prompt right here?
Just real quick, the MG2, I didn't know you said you personally know BGS. Remember, I've heard him online a couple times, and he's gotten weirder and weirder. Some of the things he says about Black women and how they have a low level of contempt and for Black men, and we were never meant to be together. And it's just some of the stuff he says, I'm like, bro, what happened? So the fact that you say you kind of know him, like, this is crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, MG2 dropped off just when you started to speak. But of course, he's welcome to come back on anytime. Musings and Bloom in the chat said, and the worst part is clowns like Umar Johnson are pushed onto our social media feeds, even when you aren't looking for that content. That's a fact. Tariq Nasheed too is pushed on our social media feeds. You know what? Without further ado, since no one else had anything else to add, let me drop our last topic for the night.